Hi guys, welcome to Nerdy Girl TV. I'm Sam, and I'd like to welcome you to our first ever board games review video. Today we're going to be looking at a game called Lords of War. It's a card game. It's been designed by a company called Black Box Games. And me and the man behind the cam have played a couple of games before, but this is the first time we've opened up the Orcs versus the Dwarves box. I just want to say, when you open it, it's very well organised. Each deck of cards you get has its own section, which is fantastic. Definitely something we felt was a really good selling point. When you open your box, you will get 2 shiny cards. They are just doubles of cards that are already in your deck. You don't have to use them, you can keep them as collectibles. You also get a game mat. In every single box there is a game mat. Makes it a bit easier, so you can have lots of different mats going if you wanted to. And each box also comes with a set of instructions. This is double-sided and it tells you everything you need to know on how to play the game, and also gives you some extra bits to make the game a bit more interesting once you become a bit more confident with playing it. Each deck of 36 cards is wrapped in cellophane when you first open it. So while we do that, we're going to have a look at the cards themselves. Okay, here's one of the Orc cards. As you can see, it's got the name at the bottom, and there are some arrows pointing off the sides and the corners. And we'll come to those in a second. And also, you have got a shield with a number in the middle. And on the opposite corner you have got another selection of symbols, sorry. And here's what the different parts of the card mean. The arrows on the sides and the corners are your attack arrows, with the numbers in those circles are how much that attack is worth. Just underneath the attack arrow in the center at the top is a target grid and a missile damage value. That is used for the support cards. They're the archers. They can do long distance attacks. They can also be seen at the sides of the cards or at the bottom of the card, depending on where their attacks are directed. You've also got the defense. The shield in that bottom left corner is the defense value of the card. So if your attacks do not equal more than that number, then that card cannot be defeated. And in the opposite corner you've got the class of the card and the rank. Rank is quite important, especially with win conditions. And at the bottom you have the name of the card and the name of the character. Okay, let's look at the image of the card and the description, and you can just see roughly where everything goes and what it looks like. Obviously the card we've got here is not a support card, as it doesn't have the target grid. Okay, here's just the explanation of the different classes that your cards can come in. You can have an infantry, a cavalry, spear, ranged, and berserker. Your ranged classes are your support classes. And underneath we've got the ranks. So you've got your recruits, your regulars, your veterans, your elites, your specials, your commands, and your general. You only get one general in every army, and your commands, you get a minimum of 4, because if you lose 4 of your command cards, that is it, the game is over for you. Okay, really quickly, just the sequence of how the game plays out each turn. There are 3 phases to each turn, and the first phase is your deployment, and that's putting the cards on the table. Number 2 is the elimination, that's the combat part of the round, and number 3 is reinforcement, that's taking a card from your deck or taking one back off the field. Okay, let's have a quick look at deployment. Obviously when it's your turn, the first thing you're going to do is to deploy 1 card, and it's 1 card only. When you do that, you need to make sure that your card is the right way up, so that means that the name banner at the bottom is facing you and only you can read it, and your card must be placed next to an enemy card, somewhere where one of your attack arrows can get to it. As you can see from the image on the screen, all the cards that have the ticks on are the orcs, and they are all in the correct place because each one has an attack arrow that is going towards the dwarf, which is upside down to how we're seeing it. This is an image of an incorrect deployment. As you can see, all the orcs, their attack arrows are not pointing towards the dwarf. Once you've deployed, you go on to your elimination part of your round, and we're going to look at how to attack and go into combat. So if you look at the two cards that are on the right of the screen, the attack arrows to the top of each card are facing each other. And if we go into zoom in, you can see that one is attacking for a 5 and the other is attacking for a 1. Now this is the part where we look at the defense shields on the bottom of each card. You can see the Deathbringer has a defense of 2 and the Marauder at the top has a defense of 4. Now because of this, the Marauder attacking for 1 cannot destroy or cannot defeat the Deathbringer, but the Deathbringer has an attack of 5, which is higher than the Marauder's defense of 4, which means that the Marauder would be taken out of play and put into the attacking player's collection of cards. Here we're using a support card. It is behind the Deathbringer. As you can see, it does have the target grid right above at the top of the card. The squares at the top of the card tell you exactly the space and the area in which it can attack, and the number at the bottom tells you how much it is attacking for. Based on what we see in that grid, we can tell that the support card can in fact attack the enemy card, which is at the top of our screens, but unfortunately it doesn't have the right attack to completely defeat the card. It is an attack of 4, whereas the Marauder is a defense of 4. If we include the a corner attack on the card of the Deathbringer, which is 3, we've now got a corner attack going on to our Marauder of 3, plus the support attack of 4, which gives us an attack of 7, which will in fact defeat the Marauder's defense of 4, which will then mean the card is out of play and goes into the attacking player's collection of cards. And now I've given you pretty much an overview of how the game plays. Let's get started and see a game in action. Okay, when you start, you have to make sure your general is removed from the deck. Just waiting for the man behind the cam to find his general. He decided to mix them up. The general just stays to the side of the game board for this first section, because what you're going to do is you're going to shuffle the rest of the cards. Okay, once you've finished shuffling the cards, you deal yourself out 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you return your general to the hand. And to start off, if you notice on the board there is a 1 and a 2. Number 1 is player 1. Normally you would toss a coin to decide who goes first, and the 2 is the player 2. The first player would then start by deploying a card. It doesn't have to be the general, just a card. And then player 2 would also deploy a card on the number 2. And then the game can really begin with your deployment, your elimination, and then your reinforcement. So this is now a deployment round. So that card will have an arrow pointing towards its enemy card. Nothing has been eliminated. So it moves on to deployment. And then moves on to my turn, where I have deployed and I have taken a card out. Gives me 1. And then I have reinforced from the deck. And that is pretty much how a round of play will go. If you're watching carefully, the man behind the cam will now place down a card as part of his deployment. And which has in turn meant that he has now started scoring. What I've done here, instead of taking from the deck for my reinforcement, I've taken a card off the field. It's a really clever maneuver strategy you can use, especially if you're putting some of your higher level cards down that could necessarily win or lose you the game. In order to win at Lords of War, you have to either defeat 20 cards and have 20 cards discarded on your side of the field, or you have to defeat 4 command cards. These are the cards with the small cross and the 4 dots in the rank part of the card. Well, if 4 are gone, then that's it, game is over, your opponent has won. Which, if you have more kills, as it were, and they get 4 of your commands but they're behind, they still win. Personally, I think this game is simple to play, the rules are easy to understand, you literally open the box and you can start playing. It's fun, you have to communicate with your opponent, especially if you're trying to add up with support cards and additional attack cards to try and defeat one of your opponent's characters or cards. As much as there are winners and losers in the game, it's still very much, as I said before, it's a fun game to play, and you know, that's a friendly rivalry that can come from this sort of game is always good, and rematches are always fun. It's important to note that the reason I put the card back is because it was engaged in the combat. You cannot take cards off the field during your reinforcement phase if they've been involved in a combat. So I was playing as the dwarves for this game, and the man behind the cam was playing as the orcs. What we found is that the dwarves are slightly more powerful in a very quick succession kind of way, and the orcs, you have to be much more strategic in how you play them, but it's always interesting with the different armies that they do have at the moment. Currently there is a box set of elves versus lizardmen. You have the dwarves and the orcs, which is what you're seeing being played here right now, and there is also the Templars versus the undead. Now that's not to say that you cannot have the elves versus the undead or the Templars versus the orcs. They are all playable, mixed and matched within themselves, but they are the starter box sets that everything comes with. Right, I've put these stars on the screen just to indicate how many command cards have been destroyed or defeated. Currently the man behind the cam has defeated 2 of my command units. 2 more and I lose the game. If you take a look at the Lords of War website, which is lords-of-war.com/shop, there are plenty of things to get you started in the game. Not only do they have the individual boxes to buy, they're about $12.99. You can also get bundle packs where you'll get not only the starter card sets, you'll also get the expansion pack, which is weather and terrain. We do have that here at Nerdy Girl. We'll be trying that later on once we're a bit more confident with the game itself. They've got loads of bundles available and also some special accessory packs with specialised gaming mats and other little bits and bobs. So I'd say give it a check, give it a look-see and see what you think. It's all some really interesting stuff. As you can see, I was speeding ahead at this point in the game. There's 9 kills for me and 6 for the man behind the cam. Towards the end of the game, it starts to get a bit trickier to try and corner and defeat your opponent, because the number of cards or the type of cards that are available to you become slightly more limited. This, however, makes it far more strategic during the later stages of the game. Now, as I said before, this is the first time we've played Dwarves versus Orcs with these particular armies, so we're not 100% sure the best way to utilise the skills that each army has. So, obviously, the more you play with specific armies, the better you understand the best way to play them. And there we go, that's a 3rd command card. I am very close to losing. It also adds the pressure on the game when you know that despite all your efforts and having loads of cards yourself, that one card could just change the entire game. It definitely makes it very interesting and ups the ante, as it were, and definitely the banter between myself and the man behind the cam was very fun. So now we're at Nerdy Girl 11 and man behind the cam 8. I'm only 9 away from winning on a 20 card winning condition. Like I said before, you kind of have to think a lot harder towards the later stages of the game to make the best moves that will ensure your victory. It takes a lot longer to make your decisions about what cards you're going to play and how you're going to play them. It's also like nerve-wracking on either side because you don't know obviously you don't know what your opponent's going to be doing, what your opponent's thinking. But the way I was thinking right now was how I needed to defeat as many of his cards as quickly as I could, knowing that he only had to get one more of my command cards. Unfortunately, a lot of my other cards weren't as potent and powerful as they could have been or needed to be. And there you have it. There is the 4th command card, which means that I lost. There we go. That's 1, and that's 2, 3, and 4. The man behind the cam won, and even though he was well off that 20 card requirement for the other winning conditions. It is a fun game. I absolutely loved playing this particular game. We played Elves and Lizardmen, and we're going to go on to Templars and Undead. But yeah, big thanks to Black Box Games and Lords of War. Check out lords-of-war.com. And yeah, thank you for watching. Hopefully I'll see you for some more board games videos soon. And one last thing, just to keep you updated, don't forget to try and subscribe to Nerdy Girl TV. And don't forget to check us out on Facebook. Lots of things happening in the future. Thanks for everything, guys. If you need to leave any comments, put them in the comment section below. Or don't forget to email us. That's also in the information for this video. Other than that, later days.